As the United States strives to maintain its position in strategic regions around the world, the rise of the BRICS bloc led by Russia and China has raised concerns. Additionally, the negative reactions from Middle Eastern countries following the U.S. military withdrawal from Afghanistan have been noted. It's possible that the U.S. adjustments are aimed at preparing for new directions in defense strategy. However, once the diplomatic balance tilts toward Russia and China, it becomes challenging to reverse the situation. Given this context, how can the United States both maintain a strategic direction and balance its diplomatic power with Russia and China alliance? Let's explore this in today's World Affairs. According to an analysis published by the Washington Examiner, China is implementing a sophisticated strategy to expand its global influence through infrastructure building programs such as Belt and Road Initiative. Instead of countering these actions by strengthening the United States position, American leaders have pursued misguided policies. According to the Washington Examiner, a critical initial mistake made by the United States was its refusal to participate in the Trans-Pacific Partnership (TPP) from 2016 onwards. The TPP was a trade agreement signed by 12 countries in the Pacific Rim, designed specifically to diminish China's dominance in the regional economy. Beijing was never mentioned in the agreement, and if it had taken effect, the new provisions would have promoted economic developments in the region in a manner beneficial to the United States and Japan. Unfortunately, consensus in Washington faced obstacles due to the U.S. own economic constraints, as it also needed to exercise caution towards other nations. As a consequence, in the 2016 election, both Democratic and Republican candidates expressed opposition to the TPP. Bipartisan members wanted to assert America's position, so neither side concerned themselves with the geopolitical ramifications of abandoning the TPP, despite years of painstaking diplomatic efforts to draft the agreement. The bias against the PPP persisted beyond 2016 when it comes to trade. President Biden's policy is largely indistinguishable from the previous Republican administrations. Although some tariffs on Europe have been lifted, many other regulations remain intact. According to the analysis, the uncompromising attitude of protectionism not only harms America's interests in Europe but also provides opportunities for Beijing to expand its influence in various regions. Chinese strategists understand that America's inaction is an opportunity they can exploit. For example, in May, China held a summit with Central Asian countries, a region crucial to the Belt and Road Initiative. More recently, the Arab-China Cooperation Forum was organized in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, resulting in contracts worth over $9 billion. It is evident that through economic activity, Beijing is successfully gaining ground that was once occupied by the United States. At present, the U.S. aims to build closer economic relationships with other countries. However, Washington seems unable to outline a clear strategy to achieve this goal. Apart from the competition from China, the role of BRICS, the organization led by Russia and China, is also becoming increasingly prominent and may even pose a threat to the position of the United States on the global stage. According to Newsweek magazine, Western analysts have long underestimated the importance of the BRICS organization, considering it nothing more than a purely interest-based multilateral marriage. The meeting in early June was an opportunity for BRICS to assess the achievements and future of the organization, amidst growing calls for BRICS to make breakthroughs and challenge the Western-led global financial system, particularly in terms of competing with the US dollar. Annie Sokla, a seasoned diplomat and South Africa's ambassador at BRICS, believes that climate change, the impacts of COVID-19, and technological disparities are leading to inequality. The shortcomings in the world order are the main reasons why more and more countries are choosing BRICS. Mr. Sokla stated, "We are witnessing erosion of the global multilateral architecture. Unilateral measures coupled with sanctions have become the norm. In an unjust global architecture, countries seeking a louder voice in the global order are trying to reconnect with each other. According to him, countries in the Southern Hemisphere are desiring connectivity, which is why the West is seeking to attract countries in the Southern Hemisphere. Amidst these countries are increasingly demonstrating alignment with BRICS. The experts also believe that the attractiveness of BRICS lies in its acknowledgement of the challenges that many countries in the Southern Hemisphere continue to face in an unequal world, a world that has undergone significant changes in the nearly 80 years since the establishment of the United Nations system. This attractiveness was evident a year ago when around 19 global leaders participated in the BRICS Plus summit held in China in June 2022. Countries such as Algeria, Argentina, Iran, and Saudi Arabia officially submitted applications to join BRICS. Many other countries like Egypt, Indonesia, Mexico, and Turkey and UAE have openly expressed similar plans or are considering the intention to join. According to Mr. Sokla, to date, more than 20 countries from around the world have submitted applications or expressed interest in joining BRICS. Up to this point, the best way for the U.S. to counter Russia and China's global economic initiative is to embrace free trade relations. Accordingly, U.S. diplomats should engage in negotiations to eliminate barriers between the U.S. and its partner countries. In fact, free trade is a simple and fair idea that brings benefits to all parties involved. If U.S. leaders prioritize this strategy, it can trigger a global economic revolution and potentially hinder Russia and China's search for partners. According to the Washington Examiner, the upcoming period will be crucial in countering China. The possibility of conflict has been mentioned, and the U.S. needs to ensure its advantages before such an event occurs. At this time, one of America's necessary action is to strengthen its alliance with countries capable of resisting Beijing. Therefore, free trade is a way to make relations between the U.S. and its partners more appealing and attractive to wavering nations. Of course, bipartisan members of the U.S. Congress always need to consider political interests alongside common interests. However, international relations can quickly reach a genuine crisis point. If there is a time to set aside political considerations, it is now, because defeating China through free trade is more important than maintaining the image of a nation for the people by pursuing protectionism. The changes in the U.S. can be observed following the visit of Secretary of State Antony Blinken to Saudi Arabia last week. Although there were no signs that the United States could persuade the Riyadh government to support lowering gas prices, Biden administration still wants to establish foundations for improving relations with the kingdom. According to The Hill, on June the 12th, following his meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman last week, Secretary of State Antony Blinken stated that the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia has improved, as President Biden withdrew the warning that the Riyadh government would face consequences for its decision to reduce oil production. In an interview with Arab media on June the 8th, Secretary Blinken mentioned that during President Biden's visit to Saudi Arabia in October of the previous year, there were differences between the two countries' perspectives on OPEC+. However, they also shared common interests in the Middle East and globally. These factors have contributed to finding common ground and bridging the gap between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. It is known that oil revenues still constitute a significant portion of Saudi Arabia's budget. Building on this resource, the Riyadh government aimed to transform the country into a center for business, culture, and entertainment in the Middle East. The disagreement of Saudi Arabia with the energy policy of the United States, despite President Biden's high-profile visit last year and billions of dollars in arms sales, is raising further concerns from the U.S. Congress regarding to human rights issues in the oil-rich kingdom. However, some allies of President Biden in Congress also acknowledge the difficulties of imposing penalties on Saudi Arabia. According to The Hill, the Biden administration seems to have made a strategic decision to compartmentalize areas where the U.S. and Saudi Arabia have shared interests. This approach has yielded some results, such as ending the devastating 8-year-long civil war in Yemen, easing tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran and Israel, utilizing the assistance and influence of the Riyadh government to push back against the outbreak of the war in Sudan. The United States also intends to maintain its influence over Saudi Arabia and Crown Prince Mohammed, even as the kingdom balances its relations with Russia and China. In simpler terms, the United States needs to proceed with caution following Saudi Arabia's announcement of deep oil production cut in July. It is worth noting that after natural gas prices peaked during the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, energy prices have cooled down, helping alleviate inflation pressures for the U.S. government. Currently, gasoline prices in the U.S. stand at $3.6 per gallon, higher than the previous month but significantly lower compared to the same period last year. In addition to its relationship with Saudi Arabia, the United States needs to pay attention to another important partner. Recently, the U.S. government has given the green light for General Electric to transfer technology for manufacturing jet engines to India. The two countries have reached a preliminary agreement on this matter. According to the BRICS One News website on June 7th, both Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden are preparing to make new announcements regarding to a defense agreement during their meeting scheduled for June 21st in the capital city of Washington. Under the agreement, General Electric of the United States will collaborate with India Hindustan Aeronautics Limited to jointly manufacture jet engines for a fighter aircraft program. It is known that in 2012, General Electric and Hindustan attempted to reach a similar agreement but failed due to the Indian government's desire for greater technology transfer. Currently, sources suggest that the two companies have reached an agreement on enhanced technology transfer, making India the only U.S. ally to achieve a high-level technology transfer agreement. According to FBNC World, specific details regarding to technology transfer, timelines, and payment terms are still being negotiated to be finalized during Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States. The exact location for the fighter aircraft production project has not been announced. The company's Hindustan's existing facility in the Koraput region of Odisha state is being considered. If implemented, this project could benefit 500 to 600 small and medium-sized enterprises in India. Not only is the United States strengthening relationship with partner countries, but is also enhancing its presence in international organizations. According to an announcement on June 12 by United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, the United States plans to rejoin and pay over $600 million in dues after a decade-long dispute resulting from organization's acceptance of Palestine as a member. U.S. officials say the decision to rejoin is driven by concerns that China is filling the void left by the U.S. UNESCO policy agenda, particularly in setting global standards for education technology and artificial intelligence. The U.S. re-entry move will need to be voted by the UNESCO's member countries. However, the upcoming vote appears to be a formality, as there has been widespread explore since UNESCO announced the U.S. return. Naturally, no country opposed the return of a major power that was once the organization's largest contributor. In 2011, the U.S. and Israel suspended their funding for UNESCO after the organization voted to admit Palestine as a member state. In 2018, the Trump administration decided to completely withdraw from the organization, citing its biased management against Israel. UNESCO Director General Andrei Zalulay has been working to resolve the disagreements for many years, and recent efforts seem to have yielded results. According to Bloomberg, last week, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for International Organization Affairs, Richard Weimar, sent a letter to Zalulay to formalize the re-entry plan. The U.S. acknowledges progress in depoliticizing the Middle East debate at UNESCO, along with reforms in the organization management. Following the announcement of the U.S. re-entry, Andre Azoulay regarded it as a historic moment for UNESCO and an important day for multilateralism worldwide. According to Bloomberg, the decision by the United States is a significant financial boost for UNESCO, an organization known for its World Heritage Program, as well as projects combating climate change and promoting literacy among young girls. While Palestine's membership status in UNESCO was a reason for the United States discord with the agency, the return of the United States stems from the increasing influence of China. In March, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State John Bass stated that the absence of the United States in UNESCO has solidified China's role, while diminishing Washington's ability to promote a vision of a free world. He believed that UNESCO played a crucial role in establishing and shaping standards for science and technology education worldwide. Therefore, if the United States was serious about the digital age competition with China, it could not stay absent any longer. In the coming period, the U.S. government will pay its dues for 2023 to UNESCO, along with a $10 million contribution as a reward for the organization's community programs. According to the budget estimate for 2024, President Biden's administration has requested $150 million to repay debts and fees. Similar requests will be fulfilled in the upcoming years until the total debt of $619 million is paid off. It is known that the contributions of the United States constitute a significant portion of the UNESCO annual operating budget of $534 million. Prior to its withdrawal in 2018, the estimated U.S. contributions accounted for approximately 22% of the organization's total operating expenses. As Russia and China make strong strides in the diplomatic arena, it is evident that the United States cannot afford to be passive with protectionist policies. Could the U.S. changing approach towards Saudi Arabia and India be a stepping stone for the country to return to a policy of free trade? The answer will be revealed in due time, and the U.S. changes may open up more opportunities for developing countries in a multipolar world. That has wrapped up our program today. Thanks for your watching and see you next time.